Time to step to the mic yet again. Chris Miles here with my partner in basketball and all sports, Monica McNutt. We have another very esteemed guest on the show today, head coach of the University of Maryland women's basketball team, Brenda Frese. And whenever we have anyone on the show, we like to shout out your credentials. So here we go. Four-time conference coach of the year in the ACC and Big Ten, national champion, also national coach of the year in 2002. And this season was another one that was lining up to be great for you. I mean, your last loss, I believe, was on January 9th. So you went 2 straight months without any losses, and you're heading to the NCAA tournament, and COVID-19 happens, and March Madness and the NCAA tournament gets canceled. So take us through that moment for you and your players. You're having a great season, ranked in the top 5 across the board, and this happens. What did you tell your players, and how did you handle that situation?
Well, first of all, thank you, Chris and Monica. Thank you for having me on. Obviously, you just spoke to it of, when you're on this kind of tremendous high, right? I mean, I didn't realize it was since January 9th, but, we had won 17 games in a row. We had just beat every team in the Big Ten tournament convincingly, projected as a number 1 seed. And then, and then the closure of the NCAA tournament. I guess the thing I'm probably most grateful for is the fact that we were all together. You look at the fact, like a lot of head coaches, their teams were, maybe on some type of break and they had to call or text their players. But you could kind of feel this building up. I mean, you saw, with the men's tournament being canceled, you could kind of feel the direction it was going. So, just the window and the opportunity to have our team and staff and support staff all together to be able to kind of close once we found out the news was something I'm very appreciative to be able to have had that moment.
You guys are fortunate. Only a few teams got to do this in their season on a win. But how do you then move forward, Coach? Because, I mean, hopefully we're still preparing for an upcoming season. You've got recruiting classes to solidify, so on and so forth. So how are you moving forward now?
Yeah, I mean, well, one, I thought that with the closure piece is, your heart goes out to your seniors, that they'll never get to know what if, right? Especially the way we were playing. So I left that message for them is, they got to end with a win with confetti falling down from the sky on their face. But, I think for us at that time, we weren't really, sure of the depths and how serious and, that we would be now into our 8th week, being at home and making, the movement. So now it's just adapting. I mean, weekly Zoom calls with your team and just preparing to, be doing whatever you can, in your situation to be prepared whenever we get that call and that ability to be able to come back to campus. But so many question marks. I think, the biggest thing it teaches us right now is, 1, to be present, and 2, you have to be able to be able to adapt. A slogan in our program is always be comfortable being uncomfortable. And my goodness, if we're not living that right now, I don't know what we're doing. So, I think for us is like, okay, this is, I heard someone say it the other day, this is our new abnormal. So now you have to figure out what that looks like and how you can make the best of it.
Man, a new abnormal is absolutely right, Coach. But I did want to touch on this. If you had to find it, because I mean, this is so unique for all of us, and then for you, particularly in a position of leadership responsible for these girls, if you had to find it, has there been any sort of silver lining or anything that you've been impressed with by your players through this process?
Are you kidding me? I can always find the positive. I mean, I'm coming from, again, a son at 2.5 years old that was, I was told was diagnosed with cancer. So after you have a situation like that, 100%. And, for me right now, it's this gift of time, with the amount of hours that we put in, the fact now that I get to spend 24/7. Like, I always wondered what it would be like to be a stay-at-home mom. And now I'm working 2 jobs between, the homeschooling and my own job with recruiting and, from the home front. But I'm loving the gift of time with my family. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't know if they are, because of the life skills and, now everything they can do and, that they've been taught. But I mean, we definitely, we've had so many more moments than we normally typically get at this point in time.
A big moment, the WNBA draft, virtual viewership up, numbers that we've never seen. One of yours, Kyla Charles, who I just adore, gets her name called and is joining the Connecticut Sun. Where was she? I don't know if she was with you. I mean, by now we've all had to kind of separate, but what was that night for you? I mean, you've got plenty of pros, but yet another one.
Yeah, I mean, another proud moment in Maryland history, for sure. And I can't say enough about, Kyla and her family and what they mean to our program. And, we were on virtual Zoom, all of our team and support staff and coaches, and just watching the draft unfold that night. I'm so happy for her to be able to go to the Connecticut Sun. I just think, the philosophy there with Kurt Miller and the Maryland players with Alyssa and Bree being there to support her. I think it's a perfect fit for Kyla. And what a dream come true, all the hard work, the sacrifices, the time that Kyla has put into her game has prepared her for this moment. And I know she's going to be ready to do big things in the league.
Well, you say the time that she's put into her game is in one player, but I think by count now I have 9 current Maryland alum in the WNBA, and I might be selling a few short by, just the ones I know on rosters now. But also, when I think of the epitome of Maryland basketball, I also think of Christy Tolliver and her transition into becoming a coach and making big shots in big games, and now coaching in the men's game as well while she's still playing. Just take me through the list of players you're proud of, but particularly Christy, who's someone I've come across for a few years now. She seems to carry a bit of your presence with her.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that I'm most proud of when I listen to, WNBA coaches and general managers and as our players transition even overseas is that Maryland players are prepared. And that is a huge piece in our program. It's the player development, not only from a basketball end and that you grow in the 4 years that you're here, but also as a person. You're gonna be coached hard. The details are gonna matter, because at some point when you graduate, it's all on your own. And you have to be prepared. And I think when you talk about those players, we had over 5 players in the WNBA finals last year between the Mystics and the Sun, to be able to watch that unfold. And you spoke of Christy Tolliver. Not only did she make the biggest shot in NCAA women's basketball history to allow us to win that national championship, but now you look at her growth. You've always could see she was going to be a coach. That leader, that floor general on the floor, what she was able to do with the Mystics. Now she'll be with the Spark. Now, coaching with the Wizards. She's just been able to bring so many things to this game.
We love what your players have gone on to do in the WNBA, Coach, and you talk about what your program brings. But this day and age, the transfer portal, Coach, it has just kind of changed the game for you. I actually saw LaChina Robinson, who's someone that we all respect as a women's analyst. She talked about recruiting classes are one thing, but now the task is getting players to stay. How much has the transfer portal sort of changed the game in women's college basketball?
It completely has. And I think if you ask anyone on the women's and the men's side, it's changed and it's not going away. We have over 550 transfers in our portal right now. The men are somewhere over 700. And that's not even counting if they go to the one-time transfer, that vote is coming up in May. So if anything, it's not going back to what it once was, which I think is disappointing. I don't know if you're going to see as many players that stick and do what a Kyla Charles did, or our 06 national championship team, Christy Tolliver, staying for 4 years. But I think you have to be able to adapt. Just like we did when we left the ACC to go to the Big Ten Conference. You have to be able to adapt and make changes. And I think as we've moved into that conference, last time I checked, we've adapted pretty well. So it's no different. We have signed 2 transfers ourselves coming into Maryland, 2 that are excited to be here, that love to play in front of big crowds and love to win. And I think for us, as we've watched transfers, unfortunately, we're sad to see them leave. But the ones that have stayed and the ones that have come in are always the right fit. And there's a reason why they're here.
Sticking with the theme of adapting to our current situation, obviously you've had great recruiting class after great recruiting class, but going forward, how do you shift in this time period and trying to recruit the next great class? Like, how are things different if you're not able to have that one-on-one contact in person?
You have to get creative. I mean, I can't tell you how many Zoom PowerPoint presentation calls I've done in the last 7 weeks. It's been a lot by our staff, a lot of FaceTime calls. I mean, that face-to-face interaction that you can get on the phone. And again, you can't be there in person. So, just being able to use technology and be ahead. I feel for those that aren't tech savvy, because you're going to be left behind right now if you're not able to, I've even adapted to the TikToks with my son. He loves the TikTok world. And so he's got me doing TikToks, which I never in my wildest dreams thought I would ever do in my lifetime. But you got the gift of time, and you're making some special memories with your son. So it's pretty cool.
That is gold, Coach. You got to send us some of those so we can work them in. But you know what? I want to, again, and I just love this theme of adapting, because I have this conversation with my teammates who are now on the coaching side and so on and so forth. And I'm sure you've heard it, the narrative that the athlete has changed. And it probably has, or they probably have to some degree. But you're still tasked with winning and leading this group of young women. So as you've adapted, what ways are you most proud of what your program's been able to do?
I would say the consistency, the fact that, every player that has come through in their 4 years has been able to win a championship, and regular season, tournament. We win at a really, really high rate, and we do it the right way. And I think, in my 18 years here at Maryland, like you spoke of earlier with the pros, we've consistently been able to show that we do things the right way. That you're going to come out of it better because of it. You're going to be loved. You're going to be coached hard. You're going to be pushed. But at the end of the day, by the time you graduate from here, you're going to be prepared for the next step. And that's really what, it's all about, is being prepared for that next step in your journey.
Coach, the number you're looking for, 15 NCAA appearances in your 19 years there. And I believe one of those years off was, I think, your first year at Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's kind of the number that circles exactly what you're saying. So one of the things that I noticed in trying to keep tabs on some of the highly touted recruits is that I often see, offered by University of Maryland, and maybe it's the 8th or the 9th grade, or in one case, reportedly 6th grade. So explain to me your approach with that and offering these athletes at a young age. Because the first thing I think about is, well, is she afraid? Is she not afraid that they won't develop fully? Or is it something that you see in these particular players that they're just special?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell, the it factor. It's specifically that 6th grader. I don't think I was wrong there. Those kind of jump out at you. We're not just throwing offers out to anybody and everybody, but we do, we do our homework early. We're ahead in our classes. I think when you have that luxury of being at a program for 18 years, I mean, you have your recruiting base that goes down to those young ages. And so you're able to see them with a lot of evaluations. So, I love to recruit. I'm disappointed because we don't know if we're going to get out this year to be able to see those recruits moving forward in this off season. But, then again, you have to be creative, watch a lot more film, and be prepared for what lies ahead.
Coach, I want to ask you about a couple changes that came down this week. The women are switching from the RPI to the net ranking. Any thoughts on that one?
I mean, I watched it with the men. I thought it was, a really good assessment, in the men's game. I know there's conversations within our conference. We're going to meet next week on a Zoom call to kind of really understand the ins and the outs. So I think it's important to be prepared for when you're scheduling what that's going to look like moving forward. But all indications, they were able to study it for the last 2 years on the men's side. So I think, I value the fact that I think our sport takes its time to make sure it's the right move, even like moving the 3-point line back to the men's side, that we just don't kind of knee jerk and make the reaction. We kind of study it. So, I am excited about what lies ahead.
All right. And then last, Coach, we are so appreciative of your time, but we got to get this one in because you may know that this podcast is DMV focused and DMV centric, and your program is well established right here in the Mecca. What is it about this area and your 18 years of recruiting? It's so crazy to hear you say that because I still feel like I remember when you got to Maryland. What is it about this area that seems to produce such a high quality caliber athlete?
Oh, I mean, I think there's just, like you're saying, there's so many hoopers, right? And they just all seem to, I mean, even when I look at current and I look at the past, is like they all want to be out there playing, they all want to be in the gym. And the leagues out here, when you talk about, that these girls get to play in very, very highly competitive, schools that they're playing for, but just an extreme amount of talent, like you're talking about, that have gone on and transitioned to college and had some pretty special careers.
Well, whatever the secret is in the sauce, it's working, and I hope that next season you have the same amount of success that you had this past season and even more, and that we have a successful NCAA tournament and much success to you in the future. Thank you for stepping to the mic, Brenda Frese.
Thank you so much.